As I go through this, one of the things to know with the SBDC is because we're funded by we're funded by the SBA primarily, and then there are we do work also in cooperation with UNLV and then Chase, a couple of other private sponsors. A lot of changes going on right now, but these lead to, these affect whether it's business loans, SBA-backed loans, grant money, that sort of thing. But when you do, if you were interested in registering with the SBDC, everything is confidential and it's provided at no cost to you. Okay. At least for now, since we're still federally funded. So this is me. I'm a business development advisor, again funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the SBA. That is my email address if you would like to, whether it's registering with us and having a consultation, one-on-one consultations. I in particular have clients that may call and they're like, hey, I've got this idea, can we brainstorm it? What would the requirements be, regulations, licensing, those sort of things? What would I have to do if I were to pursue this? So sometimes they come to us at that ideation phase. Other times they're like, hey, I've been running this business, I'm starting to generate revenue, I'm not a formal entity quite yet, let's look at my tax structure, all of those things, we help in that process. There are some who say, hey, I'm coming to you because you're part of the SBA, I need funding. I need a business loan. What do I need to do? So we go through all of those requirements. We help them to create their business plans, go through the financial projections. If you're dealing with investors and it's, what do you have in your pitch deck? It should be the visual representation of your business plan and your ask, right? So we help with that entire process. And then also marketing strategies, right? Business strategies. So how you are set up today, where do you want to be, in 6 months, 12 months? Do we have the right strategies in place? Are you spreading yourself too thin? Sometimes it's just a matter of coaching the entrepreneur through that entrepreneurial journey as well. Oftentimes I'll get calls and the clients say, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. Things aren't happening the way that I thought they were going to happen. Now what? And so sometimes we just need to take that step back and kind of see where you're at and what worked, what didn't work, and what we need to do next, right? Just part of the process. Growing a business, so a lot of that is, okay, are you ready to hire your first person? Are you prepared for that? From a budgeting standpoint, did you take into account payroll taxes, HR compliance, those sort of things that you're now going to be liable for, workers' comp? So we will talk about that. Marketing strategy, we were talking a little bit about the need for brand awareness, kind of as the first thing, but you have to know what your brand is, right? So some of that is just brainstorming it through. How do you want to communicate your business, your product, your service to your audience? Have you even identified your audience? I have clients that come and say, this is what I'm doing, this is my wheelhouse. Have you done your market research yet? Do you know what the competition looks like, the competitive landscape? Because that's really important as well. We may have to find out what makes you unique, your unique value proposition, so we use that as part of the marketing strategy. Oh yeah, that's a tough one, especially today. New employees, if you are going to W-2 them, or if they're going to stay as 1099, the Department of Labor is very strict right now, has been, but all the more so now, in having the proper documentation and what they consider qualifies for a 1099. And then there's also questions about the ITINs. So we have specific industries that actually employ ITINs, and there's a whole compliance thing there as well. Tax implications, are you a sole proprietor? So there are two different things, right? There's the legal entity, and then there's how you classify for tax purposes. So your legal entity choices, by default, you're a sole proprietor if you don't do anything. So sometimes they'll say, well, you still need to register your sole proprietorship with the state of Nevada. You really don't. right? It's your business, yourself, you're one and the same. It's $200 if you're going to. Does it give you added benefit? Does it give? No, it really doesn't. It doesn't give you any legal protections whatsoever. If you're looking to protect yourself legally, your personal assets, separate it from your business, then the options there are LLC, LLP if you're professional services, or corporation if you're looking to possibly bring on shareholders and you're looking at equity share. So, so for tax implications, by default, so that's with the IRS, so by default you're being taxed as a sole proprietor, which is the highest level. You can elect to be an S corporation, and that's basically just the benefits of a corporation for a small business. And then you are allowed some extra deductions that the IRS doesn't balk at, or you're not opening yourself up to audit because they know that you're trying to operate as an actual small business. And then you can also, a benefit of that is also you can employ yourself. So you actually have to employ yourself as an S corporation, as a founder, as an owner. You're paying into payroll taxes, which includes unemployment, right? So during COVID, a lot of S corporations that did not have revenues ended up laying themselves off. And then they actually were able to get some of that unemployment benefit. Oh, yeah.
So I used to operate as a corporation, and I was always told, as a single person corporation, I was always told, you got to pay it, but you're never going to be able to collect it.
Oh, yeah. As an S corp, you should have been payrolling yourself.
It was actually a C corp.
Even if you're a C corp, you can elect to be taxed as an S corp, right?
I get all that.
Yeah.
I was an employee. I was paying myself salary, paid all the taxes and everything. But the going thing at the time was,
my accountant told me I could do it, but then when I went and hired myself back again, my rate would be a lot higher.
Yeah.
Because you guys would take a claim on your insurance of your car, it worked the same way.
Yeah.
Then I'd end up paying for all the money I got from the government back. And
right.
So the starting rate, I think, is like 2.9% or something that they have you at for unemployment. And yeah, every time you have a claim, you lay off somebody, there's a claim, then your rate, I think, goes up to 9%. So yeah, you're right, it does go up.
Federal?
No, that's state unemployment.
That's the state unemployment. Mm-hmm. You also have to pay a federal unemployment.
Your FUTA.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you would be
That's pretty cheap, though.
but you would be filing under the state unemployment.
Yeah. Okay.
Managing your business, what is your growth strategy? Some people are like, oh my gosh, Rachel, what else do I need to do? My sales aren't increasing. Well, that's usually because you've kind of hit either, right, so it's tracking it. It's either it hasn't been working, or if it's been working for you, you've sort of hit the limit for that. So what next? Do you need to, let's reevaluate some of the strategies that you have. Have you used social media? Have you been, do we need to rebrand you? Do we need to announce a relaunch? So a lot of different things that you can do. But we try to help you with that process, see where you're at, see where you're trying to get to, identify those gaps, and let's put a plan in place for you. Financial management, connect with external resources. We're not attorneys, we're not CPAs. We know kind of the basics of things to get you going. There are a lot of things, if it's a simple partnership, you and your buddy are are going in 50-50, 60-40. There's some real basic agreements you can have in place. Once you start bringing in equity partners, shareholders, they're coming in to do the operations and you're doing business development, then you need that operating agreement. If there's commissions in place, then we try to connect you with the right type of an attorney, right? If your taxes are a little bit complicated, we try to make that connection for you. We have a lot of people that come in, they're like, which one do I go to? Because I didn't like the last CPA that I used, right? So we just try to help you connect with those. And then when it comes to funding, and I'll be covering that in a little bit, but whether it's a traditional bank loan or non-traditional, they all have similar requirements with business plans and financial projections, and so we help you to prepare all of that. And this is as of 2022, but this is our economic impact, and this is just for the state of Nevada. Again, this is a national organization, Small Business Development Center. I've been a business owner for about 20 years, probably over. I had my own staffing agency, executive search firm, HR consulting, and then now in the last 3 years, I started a new tech company. So, and I never heard of the SBDC, and I've been here that entire time. And would it have been great if I had somebody way back when to help me navigate through some of these requirements, help me to just brainstorm, right? Because as business owners, entrepreneurs, sometimes we end up in a loop. Like, gosh, I was going through this with my last, with my tech company. I ended up joining Zero Labs, one of the incubators here in town, and they were like, Rachel, you've already launched. Why do you want to join? And it's like, I'm in a loop. And I keep running across and doing the same things, and I don't know what I'm missing. And so by participating in it and kind of opening it up to that community, they were able to give me that critical feedback and say, well, have you thought about doing this? And I ended up pivoting. And it was at a critical time, but it also opened up the world for me. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, I have a whole new strategy that I can employ. So we can be here for you for that as well, right? Just to brainstorm. Let's see if we can pivot it a little bit.
What does SBDC stand for?
So that stands for Small Business Development Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we are a national organization. It's America's SBDC.
Gotcha.
And so, yes.
So, and thank you for clarifying. So, it's different than the SBA?
So we're primarily funded by the SBA. So,
Small Business Association.
exactly, Small Business Association. Thank you for asking. So what happens is that's your tax dollars at work. So when the federal government says we're investing in small business, that's how they do it. So the SBA doesn't directly lend money, but the SBA backs business loans. So think of FHA for people who have trouble qualifying for mortgage, right, for a loan. That's kind of what the SBA does. So if you're like, hey Rachel, I need a line of credit, I need operating capital. We get all of that paperwork together, and based on your industry, based on your financials, we try to match you with the right lender, and oftentimes it's the one that has a strong SBA program and resources in place that can then say, hey, you know what, we're going to bring in the SBA programs to help make you more, more likely to qualify and to get approved for a loan. So that's kind of how that works. So the SBA funds it, so that's how we're able to offer it to the business community at no cost. Again, I have people that want to call every couple of months and say, hey, can we just track my progress? And others that say, hey, can I call you once a week? And here's my paperwork. Can you tell me what I'm missing, right? Can you review my business plan? Can you take a look at my pitch deck? And we kind of go from there. So here in Nevada, so the way that the SBDC works, so we are kind of the outreach arm for the SBA, right? Because the SBA doesn't do their own lending, they don't do their own consulting, they bring it down to us. But we partner with universities, so we can't operate by ourselves. So here in Las Vegas, we work with UNLV. So I am technically employed by SBDC, UNLV, and the SBA. And that's kind of how we're funded. And then some private funds in addition to that.
Checks.
Oh, I wish! I wish.
You've got 3 bosses.
That's about right. But at least I get to say, I'm working for this one today. I'm working for that. But so how do we impact the small business community besides that, right? So we, again, as a business owner, I didn't know anything about the SBDC. And so when I was approached like, hey, are you familiar with this program? I was like, wow, can I be part of that? Because that's really pretty essential for our community and for our growing business community, right? And then the tech community, entertainment, all of these, healthcare, all of these industries, and a lot of people wanting to enter and capitalize on that. And they're like, where do we start? You know, I've been a W-2 employee this whole time, but how do I now convert that and be a business owner? So, so I was like, hey, I'd love to be part of it. And you know, we have a ton of clients that we work with, all stages of their businesses. But I love it. I love it because as a business owner, it's like I get the value of it. But we try to support the business community through workshops as well. We have programs for the true startups, right? Somebody who's never been a business owner, where do I start? Not even the regulations and the permitting and the licensing piece, but how do I mentally prepare for it? So we kind of guide them through that with these workshops to see if they're ready. What is your concept? How far do they have that developed even in their own minds? So we help with that. We have ongoing workshops specific to industries. One is for construction. We have workshops in healthcare. And these are, 6-week type workshops, some a little bit longer. We have one going on now with the IRS and small business, because there are a lot of changes to the tax codes and stuff, and people have questions, especially small business owners once they're converting from sole proprietor or idea to now being a business owner. And I'm trying to think what other ones we have. We have another one for AI and marketing. And a lot of people may use AI, but they don't know how to sort of customize it and tailor it more specifically to their business.
If we wanted to join one of those workshops, is there like a website we can go to?
I would say, and I'll have it, I think, at the end, but if you go to nevadasbdc.org, right, and these are really for SBDC clients. Register, feel free to put my name down when it asks for a center. Select the UNLV Research and Tech Park centers. We do have other centers, North Las Vegas, with the Urban Chamber, Henderson Chamber, but I'm with the UNLV Research and Tech Park, so feel free to put my name, Rachel Gomez.
You said you have to be a member?
Well, you have to be, you should be. Okay, here's the thing, is it's open to the public, but you can't like tell me about your business and share confidential information with me during the workshop, because it's not covered under the confidentiality policy. So we request that everybody at least register. When you register, you're signing the confidentiality policy. And that way, if you were to pull me aside and say, hey, what you taught me, this is my situation, how do I, then we can have that conversation. Okay. So that is the preferred method. We have great attendance on our workshops. This was 154, but I know that the numbers are so much higher than that, as well as our capital funding. To give you an idea, I think my goal for capital funding, meaning finding people funding for their businesses, just for my client base, is probably $2 million, almost $3 million. So in this lending climate, that's really hard, right? But that's still our goal. So who do we partner with then? So we have to develop the relationships with the bankers, the CDFIs, the community development funds, the more non-traditional lending people, so that we know who to send our clients to. And then also when it comes to the SBA products and programs that we currently have. So because we're partnering with UNLV, the great thing is that we have access to their resources. So we kind of look at this as a really great partnership. So if you were to start business advisors one-on-one consultations, right? You're like, Rachel, I want to book a call with you. I need to go into detail what I'm trying to do. I'm stuck in this area, or I need access to this resource. So that's what the one-on-one consultations are for. Again, it goes from starting a business, planning for success, growing and managing your business, grants and funding. And then when we start moving into the UNLV resources, we also work with some of their programs. Those educational programs could be SBDC type, like AI marketing, and oftentimes it'll be in conjunction with UNLV programs. We have a patent and trademark resource center at UNLV, and he was supposed to be here today, and he's sick, but he wanted me to make sure to mention it. We do have our own center at UNLV at the, I think it's the law library. Yes.
I know he's not here, but do you have like the 30-second elevator version of what that provides for people?
Right, yeah, so he actually sent it to me, so sorry I didn't get a chance to look at it, but he sent it to me like 10 minutes ago. 10 minutes before I sent it. Well, I'm trying, let me see. So here's, he did send me, and if you email me, I'd be happy to send you the flyers. And basically, this is our resource center. It's at the law library, and we are an official U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. And so we can help you do your patent searches, kind of talk about the different types of patents available, recommendations, which one to potentially pursue, that sort of thing. And it's all provided at no cost to you. Sure thing. We have student-led programs. The SBDC, we actually have our own interns, and so they might help us with digital assessments, developing websites, super simple. Some startups come and say, hey, I just need a landing page, a few pages, and so we give that to our interns. It gives them real-world experience, actual, learning how to have a relationship with a customer, meeting deliverables and deadlines and those sort of things. And to them, it's pretty basic, but they get to apply what they learn in school. And so it's a really great program. That is one of them. They do the digital assessments. They'll do market research for you. They will also do a whole branding guideline for you. So if you're like, you know what, I know what I need to do, but I don't know how to communicate it. Like, how am I going to communicate that how am I going to get them to buy into it? And then how am I going to convert them to being actual users of my product? So we kind of help guide that whole process for you. And that is supervised by one of our business advisors, the SBDC. Makerspace is another program that we have. And so I don't know if you guys have been there, the Blackfire Innovation Center, a really beautiful building. It was donated to UNLV. We've got a studio coming up next door on one of our the lots that they donated. We've got we have a new hospital, children's hospital, coming up there. We've got some manufacturing that will be occupying the land surrounding that building. So really exciting stuff. But Blackfire Innovation, it's kind of a lab for new products that they want to showcase. So we have like a whole hospitality lab, and so it was sponsored by Caesars. I'm not sure who sponsors it now, but basically we have, whether it's antimicrobial sheets, some new technology, something like when COVID came about, right? They wanted things a little bit more sanitized. And so somebody came up with this fabric and they wanted to showcase it. And so we actually display it in our hospitality lab. They have new, new things for the bathrooms for hotels, new ergonomic chairs, all these different things. So new technology. We have robots running around that that are there to help clean up, from restaurants or take orders. And so a lot of that is for testing and some product development. We have, and it's actually interesting, when you walk up, so it's on the 4th floor, We have a whole gaming center, e-center place there as well, where they come and they test it out. They have an audience and everybody plays the machines and they do the validation and the testing and stuff like that. But we also have slot machines. So it gives some of our students a chance to go in and work on the technical aspects and the things behind what goes on behind the scenes. So it's actually a really cool space. If you're ever interested, I'd be happy to set up a tour for you. But that is on the 3rd floor, what brought me to...
AWS is doing their thing there Tuesday, right? Is that where they sit there doing their lecture?
Who was that?
AWS?
I don't know if it's on my calendar.
They said Tuesday they've got something at UNLV, and I could swear they said...
It was a Blackfire? I'll take a look at it. So it's hard, but I try to attend all of it. I know that they came out probably 6 months ago. So that's interesting if they're coming back again, yeah. And we do things like, Congresswoman Susie Lee's going to come out, wants to say hello, visit all the businesses. So that's kind of that a good showcase for UNLV to show all the different things that we're doing, partnering with the different businesses. On the 3rd floor, so that's the 4th floor, on the 3rd floor we have something called Makerspace. And so that's using both business advisors and then interns, UNLV interns, usually from like the engineering department, and some from marketing. And so we help clients with graphic design, with large format printing, with 3D prototyping. Now the prototyping obviously is not going to be at scale. I have some that come in, it's like, oh, I need this big, and we just can't accommodate that, right? But we can give you a smaller, model of that. And that's a really great program we have. Step Up and Startup is it's our internship program. If you were like, I need more immersive type of work, right, in what I'm doing. I've created this model or this platform, and I know it's going to go here, but I need the data tested. I need it validated. I need your engineering department to come in and help me fill that gap. And so it's a program, again, coupled with like the engineering department, computer science, marketing. We added legal this year. So if you have questions, does this contract look okay? Help me create an operating agreement. What are the updates to certain laws, whatever. So they can help as well. And the program there, it's a reimbursable program. So if you said, I want to bring somebody in, have them work minimum of that, I think it's 32 hours for full time, UNLV will reimburse you like 80% as part of this internship program. And it gives them that real, like a true internship program, right? They become your employee. Mm-hmm.
So let's say you need someone to help with coding or with back-end work. You could use this program to have them do it as an intern, and you pay for the program, but you get reimbursed 80% of it?
Yep.
That's awesome.
So as long as you commit to $18 an hour minimum, and then you invoice the school, and then they pay you back, I think, within 30 days.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah. So that's our Step Up Startup program. So let me know. They will probably, if you reached out to them directly, they'd probably send you to me anyways, and I'd just send you right back. So feel free to just register with me. And then we can talk through it. And usually that's kind of the best way, right? A lot of times companies will go directly to UNLV. I want to use your internship program. Here's my whole long list of everything that I'm trying to do. And then they go, and what do you want from us? So my thing is, come to me, let's put it out and let's present it to them as a project. And then that way they can better match you with the department and with the right type of interns.
What's the threshold for using a program like that? Like, how big of a business is too big to say, hey, can we take advantage as a business in Las Vegas of that?
I don't think there's actually a threshold. It really depends on what your specific needs are, the skill sets, what level of experience or complexity that you need.
It serves the needs of the education business growth of the...
Exactly. But we do bring in grad students, and the professors often are part of it, because even with startups, the needs are sometimes pretty complex. And so they need that extra, and there will always be supervision anyways. But in terms of size of company, we're actually, so we've been, I want to say probably 95% of who we support and service is a small business startup community, right? What is the SBA? How do they designate a small business, which is crazy? Under 500 employees, and 1.5 million in revenue. And they still, anything under that they consider small. Well, that's a whole other requirement.
1.5 million in revenue and still lose $500,000.
Exactly. So it's like that doesn't even, but what does that mean for our program and for the services and the resources we provide, and then as business owners? So the majority, when we say 95%, is that small business. They're not 500 employees. They're startup, right? If they're 10, we have some that are 20, some that are 50, maybe some that are 100, but not what I would consider more medium size. We're moving in that direction because we're seeing there's a lot of changes. They have questions as well. Like, they'll come to us and they'll be like, you know what, we've been operating for 10 years, we're good, we've got strong revenues. And then with the growth of Las Vegas, it's like, oops, I didn't prepare for that competition. I didn't anticipate now that there'd be so many people entering the space. There's new technology that's making it cheaper, faster for them to go there. Now what do I do? And so it's like, you know what, let's have those conversations, make sure that you're set up, that you understand all the different things that are happening in Vegas, even just as a kind of that check, right? Just check in and let's see. And that also helps us, bless you, that also helps us, to anticipate the needs of the business community. We know 95% of the community isn't startup, but those are the ones that are coming to us. So the more that we see these larger businesses that have these more complex needs, now we say, oh, you know what, we need additional resources in these areas. So that helps us to be more efficient in what we deliver to you.
Let's say you were to do that program, are they assigned to any NDA or?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah. Look at this. Yeah. That's why I wanted to double check.
Now, funding. So we take a look at the traditional, funding options, your banks, and it's really interesting because our banking partners are like, send us more companies. And it's like, okay, first you have to tell me if you're actually lending money, because I don't want to waste anybody's time, right? And it's like, if you're give me the real parameters that gives it the most likelihood of getting approved. And with interest rates, all of that happening last year, they were like, we still need to lend money, so still send people our way. So, and then now, right, so and with the changes, how that's going to affect SBA lending, all of these things, we're trying to stay on top of it, but the best thing is to just have that conversation with us. We also have a program, the SBIR, STTR grants right now are good. We haven't received any word, and that's basically the different agencies of the federal government that are opening up grants. They have their own portal now, so you can go in and more clearly see the different grants that could be available to you. And the program is, if you were accepted, it's like a multi-phase approach. Specifically, they're looking for new product development. So if you need, pre-seed money to help develop the product, and then the next phase is, it's usually to work in conjunction with a university. They want to tie you to an educational institution. And then commercialization is the last phase. So I think that is still good. SSBCI was our grant and lender matching program with the state of Nevada. And that one has been funded primarily by Department of Treasury. And so there are some people that are part of the program. If you're still part of the program, you should be good, but I think they're doing away with that. And that was actually, that's Battleborn, if you're familiar with that, but that's the state grant and lending. So I just wanted to give an update to that. UNLV actually has their own, I guess it's part of the foundation. Scarlet Capital is the program, and so what they're looking for, here, I'll just kind of go through it. So our mission is to catalyze and nurture the growth of early stage technology startups through venture investment while simultaneously providing significant returns to shareholders. What does that mean? That means UNLV will come in and help with not just funding, but also in providing resources with the internship programs and such. And does that mean that they are looking for equity share? It could be. So it depends on, and they haven't really formalized what that looks like. I think it's going to be a case-by-case basis, but they're open to doing equity share, IP share.
Did it actually launch?
Yes.
It did launch last year, so it's rolling.
Yeah, it is rolling, and interestingly enough, they started talking about it at the end of the year, and we were all like, oh, we didn't know we didn't know it actually started. What are the parameters? So I think it was for us as a university, it's let's talk to the businesses that fall within these categories, and let's see what the needs are, and that'll help us to sort of formulate, do we need equity share, or what's a fair ask? You know, if you're pitching to the private investor community, there are a lot of these pitch competitions going on in town. A lot of them, I know that there are different ranges, but they seem to be at that, 100,000 for 10%. And that's a lot for 100,000. So what does that mean? Do we need to change the parameters and make it feel a little bit more, attractive to the startup tech community? So they are looking for strong teams, startups led by experienced, high-quality teams, innovative technology. I will say that the biggest things we're interested in right now are healthcare, biotech, and tech. Those are the big ones. So if anything that's going to make us more sustainable, right, in that sustainability sector, environmentally conscious, any of those things. It's like I'm thinking of clients and I can't say. But anything in those areas. Healthcare, we know that's going to be a big thing here in town. There's a lot of marketing efforts going towards Vegas being like the retirement capital, right? Well, we don't have the infrastructure to support that whole growth. So we're seeing a boom in that, but that includes technology, right? Technology and services that support that. They want to see traction, they want to see scalability, fund size, 25 million, up to 20 million pre-seed valuation, and then that's the check size. And so here again, through Scarlet Capital, they will probably connect you with one of us so we can help organize all of that information, and so we can send it to them in a digestible format.
Two questions.
Yes.
Are they still looking for limited partners? Okay.
Yeah.
And roughly, how does one become a limited partner?
Yeah. Reach out and let's take a look at it and see if it falls within that. We're having ongoing conversations. It is launched. I think we have a couple of businesses, clients that have participated in this, but I know they've been making a bigger push, so we're not sharing it with enough of you guys. So.
Are those individuals or those businesses that are the limited partners? Like, what's sort of the buy-in, or what is the requirement for becoming a limited partner?
That's a great question. So I think reach out to me and I can get you connected, and they can talk about the specifics on that.
Okay. And actually, I have 3 questions.
Oh, yeah?
How does this relate, if at all, to Rebel Venture Fund?
Oh, how does that relate to and actually I was hoping that Rebel Forge was going to be out here
So
to talk
Rebel
about.
Forge and there's Rebel Venture Fund,
And then
the two of them also, but they're distinct entities.
Yeah, and I think Rebel Venture Fund is just, so the Rebel Forge program is used to encourage our students who are wanting to be entrepreneurs and develop new technology, help them in that process. And I think the Venture Fund goes towards that. Okay. So yeah. That's my understanding of it. I don't deal with that as much, but that it sounds about right. Yeah. They oftentimes are partnered with us as advisors as well to help them in that process. We view them as young entrepreneurs, but real entrepreneurs. So they're, you know, they're committed to it, and so it would make sense that they'd have their own fund. Managing partners, general partners, limited partners, analysts. And these can all be found on the UNLV website. This is the internship program, so just a little bit more information on that. It's not new, it's been around for, I think, about a year and a half now. And it is funded by GOED, which we call Governor's Office of Economic Development. I always have to think that. Talent retention, right? So part of the idea behind it is if you have a successful internship program, once that intern graduates, with your training, now you've sort of created the ideal employee. So the idea is after the internship program, now you have a pipeline to hire from and to make them full-time employees. So that's really kind of the goal, and create that ecosystem. Increase exposure to local employers, valuable resource for growing startups. I actually use this for my other business. And you know, students come in fresh, like they know what they know, book learning, they can do it if it's on a piece of paper. You give them real world experience, and you drop them in the middle of something, and you say, can you apply it to that? And they're like, train me, teach me, because now I'm confused. I thought I knew, but how do I apply it in a real world environment? So that's really invaluable for those students. And then it's great for me, because then I can, if I'm training them correctly, if I'm able to identify them, then once the internship program ends, they'd be a great employee for me. And I've gone through probably eight through the program. That's the benefits, requirements, $18 company reimburses within 30 days, hire your own students. So if you have somebody in mind that's already a student at UNLV, or in this case it would just be UNLV, UNR also has one, but if you have one in particular, you would basically, are you familiar with Handshake at all? It's the job board for students. In universities. And Handshake, yeah, it's joinhandshake.com is the actual website. And it's a job board for students and universities or career centers. You would post the job, but you would ask that student to create a profile, upload their resume, and then you can match them to your job. So if your kid was, you know, you want to hire them, or you have a friend's, you know somebody who's a student there that you'd really like to see what their skill set is and think they've got good basics, good fundamentals, and you want to train them, this is a great way to do it. And you don't have to choose just from the resume database that's in place. Again, you can bring your own in and then match them to your job.
Like if your neighbor's kid was a UNLV student and was interested in your type of business, you'd be able to present them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so then these are the areas. Uh-huh. So we covered that. Okay, so does anybody here have employees, hiring employees, or looking to hire employees? So there are a lot of changes. We talked a little bit about 1099 versus W-2. W-2 or the salaried, you're paying the payroll taxes. As business owners, let me backtrack, as a W-2 employee yourself, you know, when your paycheck comes in, your taxes are taken out automatically, paid into those agencies. What you're not realizing, and that's usually like right about 7.65%, the IRS requires 15.3% in payroll taxes for every payroll that's generated. So the employer is actually paying the other half. So when you become the employer, you're responsible for both, right? So if you are an employee of your own company as an S Corp, I am now paying my 7.65% in payroll taxes. Me as the employer is also paying 7.65% in payroll taxes. And the Department of Labor has really been cracking down on 1099 versus W-2. And we just happen to be one of those cities that I think they're going to be looking at, because we have a lot of people that are 1099 that really should be W-2. So a true 1099 is if you have a special skill set and somebody is using your services for specific projects, but you're able to have other clients, you're 1099. You carry your own equipment, you have your own laptop, you don't need their equipment. If you're a nurse, maybe they're scheduling it for you, but they're not telling you how to treat the patient. That's a 1099.
I did a lot of work, not as a 1099, but as a corporation, but it's sort of the same thing. The IRS used to have their 20 questions. One of the things was that I was required to use the client's equipment, which would fall counter to what the 20 questions were. Is there any leeway in that?
You know, they've really, I have it in a different presentation, but they actually came out last year with a template, and they say, if you do this, then you're W-2. If you do this, then you're 1099. And at the end of the day, there were like 2 qualifying things. And I wish I had it up, and I can look for it later to answer that more specifically. But it is, if you work for yourself and have other clients and you have control of that business, you are a 1099. If they are telling you to go someplace, you are using their tools, you're using their car, etc., you are a W-2.
And they're training you.
And they're training you. Then you're W-2. And so a lot of people are like, but I don't want to pay the payroll taxes, so I'm going to keep them as a 1099. Well, that's been okay, but, and it falls under the Fair Labor Standards Act, under Department of Labor. They've increased their number of auditors. So, yeah, they're going to kind of check to make sure that, I mean, they're not the police, I'm not the police, right? But they are going to start checking to see, wow, in these specific industries, we know there's a high percentage that are probably misclassified, and they're hefty, hefty fines. So something to think about if you are employing, or you are an industry that employs I-10 workers, undocumented immigrant workers. You know, many will pay into the system, they'll pay their taxes, they have an I-10 number through the IRS website, and their hope is that they will, it's their pathway to citizenship, right? But it's still undocumented workers. So their idea is, well, if I can find an employer that will employ me under my I-10 number, then great, I'll pay my taxes, do the right thing from my perspective in that way. The employers, though, know that they're not authorized to work. So that becomes, you know, and especially now, it's going to be a real problem. And we've got construction, those are specific in our industries, right? I-10 workers. So there is the one piece of it where they're looking at the specific I-10 workers. Aside from that, they're looking at the employers. So now the employers have to have their compliance documents. That's a big thing. So if you are working for a company, if you have a company, if you are in that industry, people need to know, right? So compliance documents, there are certain industries or certain companies that apply for government grants. And so they are, you know, part of that requirement is to upload all of that onboarding documentation, the authorizations to work in the U.S., and they upload it through an electronic and e-verify system. It has never been mandatory unless they're working with government contracts. It has been voluntary, but I will suggest that it's a great way to keep all of your compliance documents in one place. A few years ago, I want to say there was, I don't call it a raid, but they had approached some of the convenience franchise stores that I guess they were targeting or whatever. And so they went to the business owners asking for documentation. Well, it was paperwork, right? It's paper. And they're like, yeah, I have it here. Well, they shut them down. And so from an employer standpoint, you have to know that, I will say that now the process is taking so much longer because of all the regulations behind it. So you might be okay for a while, but you have to, HR compliance is now a really big thing. It's a very serious thing. There are heavy fines. You can be suspended. You can, they can shut you down. And the onboarding documents that are required, whether it's a work visa or identification, Social Security, right, all of those basics. And if you can keep it electronically, a lot of the payroll companies, the ADPs, Paychecks, Paycors, Gustos of the world, also have integrations with that onboarding type of a system. So if you are looking at that, there are these all-in-one type of platforms to help you manage the compliance piece a lot better. Other than that, it's easy, yeah. It really is. It's just keeping up with it and knowing what the changes are and where they're putting their efforts into, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to be able to operate your business and not have to worry about these things. And so compliance just happens to be a big part of it. And so these are the different SBDC centers. Again, I'm with Blackfire Innovation, UNLV's Research and Tech Park. We have, some want to go in, it's really by appointment, but like City of North Las Vegas is a little bit easier. They're at City Hall there. And you can walk in, and some view it as an all-in-one thing. They can go and get their licenses. Secretary of State's office is there. You can get signed up with a business advisor there. So we have the different centers.
Question. Let's say that I have, like, my business is in coaching. I also have a real estate investment business. If I were looking for a particular coach or advisor, how would I go about finding where?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say register with us anyways at the Blackfire location. You can request me, and during our conversation, if it feels like you need something more specific, then I will bring in another advisor or transfer you to an advisor. Otherwise, what happens is if you don't select anyone, it goes to the state. And then the state office says, well, let's just match you. But we kind of know our community a little bit better. We all have a different specialty. Mine is in HR and consulting, and then being a business owner in tech. Some are more in marketing, brand marketing, social media marketing. Others are in restaurant. We have some in construction. So really depending on the industry. And that's how pretty our office is. Yay. And so yeah, that should still work. Feel free to take that information. How are we on time?
2 minutes.
Oh yeah? Okay, good. Thank you.
Make it colder in here.
I know, right? I almost brought my little parka. I get cold easily. Then I looked at the weather and I was like, 65? Right in between.
It's like 35 here now.
Oh, it's freezing, yeah. So any other questions? I know you may have like specific to your company you don't want to share publicly, but
Great job.
thank you.
Very helpful.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, I'll stick around if you guys have questions. Otherwise, I think they're having food. Do they still do that
Yes.
over at Taverna Costera?